Welcome to another episode of In the Line of Wire. This is Jahara, and I have with me today NadeemElahi, who is Managing Director and Country Head for TRG. So, Nadeem, it's great to have you here. I think you're the first company in the BPO space that we are looking at, although TRG is more than just BPO, and we'll talk about that. Before we get into that, can you give us a little brief background about yourself, what you've done, where you've been?
Absolutely. I've been sort of in and out of Pakistan,
right.
to say the least. Went to college in the US and came back to Pakistan. I come from the business community. That's where the links are. My father, the family is in the textile business. So after college, I started out running a textile plant and did that for several years and wanted to gracefully get out of the family business.
Which can't be very easy.
which was not easy. I couldn't go to my father, I was the eldest, and tell him that, look, I need to leave, I'm bored.
Right.
So the respectable way was to apply to business school.
Right.
And so I did, and I got into Harvard Business School, and that was a very, very respectable way to leave the family business.
So he had to find someone to replace you in the meantime.
Exactly. So left Pakistan in 1999 to do my MBA. And then sort of started to, dabbled in technology, started a .com. You remember the 99, 2000 era, right? It was
the
a great
exciting time, yeah.
You had people from business school leaving to start .coms, and I didn't want to be left behind. So I started a business-to-business textile exchange with another friend of mine, and went out of business school for a year. And the fate was exactly the fate met by some of the other companies.
Right.
But sort of during that phase, I just got sort of interested in technology. I don't have a technology background. I'm not a technical guy, but management of technology and related businesses.
And that's extremely important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just became an interest, and then came back to business school. Went to work for a time. You may remember there was a company called Lycos.
Yes.
The dog.
Yes.
Terra. They got bought by a Spanish company, Terra Networks, and they had a big presence in East Asia. So I went to work for them for 6-9 months in Singapore. Did that, and then kind of met with the founding team of TRG, and
that's Zia Chishti.
That was Zia Chishti, and the idea was in his head, and Zia being the classical entrepreneur. In a sort of a dinner meeting, made me pull out my napkin and started sort of.
Oh, it really started that way?
It did. Started putting out the business model, and at the end of it, he said, "Well, I need an operations guy to work with me." And I said, "Look, I have no experience in technology or in business services." He said, "Well, don't worry, you'll learn." And so that's how it kind of started. The idea at that point was to establish a business services sort of out of Pakistan, a Pakistan-centric business services company.
Right.
Similar to we looked at India, where business services had experienced phenomenal growth,
right.
And we figured that Pakistan had the same fundamentals, but there was perception issues and other issues which were preventing the industry to grow there. So instead of sort of growing organically, which is the sort of painful and the long way to grow, we would do it the other way. We would actually build a company through acquisitions.
Right.
And that was the crux of the business model. We wanted to go out and buy middle-sized companies in the US, your contact centers, IT services companies that were focused on middle-sized clients that weren't very large to sort of drive the decision-making in terms of location and so on and so forth.
And then bring the back office to Pakistan.
And bring the back office to Pakistan.
And you started in Lahore, right?
We started in Lahore. Actually, there's a history to that. Zia's previous company, Align Technology,
yes,
was based out of Lahore. And after 9/11, Align pulled out.
That was another very successful business.
Yes, it is still a very successful business.
Yes, except Zia is not involved with it.
Zia is not involved with it, but a lot of the seed capital that Zia invested came from his wealth that he created out of that business.
Right.
And there was already a back office that existed in Pakistan, and we took that over. Once Align left, we took over the assets of Align and the call center assets and built the business on that.
Okay.
And that was the start. It was was a very interesting story. I think, believe it or not, but we had no money when we got started, as most people do. Zia's stock was all tied up. He couldn't exit for some reason. And none of us, we were all business school graduates with no money. When you get out of school, there's so basically it was with very little capital that we started out. The people that we brought on in Pakistan from the back office that was there with the line worked literally without pay for 6 months, and it's a credit to that founding team that with the that had the faith in us and in Zia and the rest of the team. And then things started sort of moving in the right direction, and the way we raised capital was again out of Pakistan, which is very unconventional, raising capital out of Pakistan. But if you sort of go back to the same time, 2001, 2002, pre 9/11, there was a lot of capital available. Pakistan, the banks were awash with liquidity, and they were looking to do something different, and hence we talked to them, and we structured sort of a private equity type transaction where the big 5 banks put in the initial capital as equity. And then subsequently we listed the company within a short period of time on the Karachi Stock Exchange.
I think it's the first tech company on the Karachi Stock Exchange. Exactly. And the way it was done was very unique, and it was just the time. The stars were all aligned. I had left Pakistan with the intention of never returning to Pakistan, to be very honest. And I was asked to come back to Pakistan during that 2001 phase to help with the public listing. And at every meeting I used to say, nahi ho sakta, nahi ho sakta. And literally everything got done. I mean, imagine a company that raises capital out of Pakistan, takes that capital, precious, it basically converts it into foreign exchange, takes it outside the country, invest the capital with a business model to bring that money back eventually in terms of repatriations and dividends. I mean, imagine convincing the state bank, let alone the SECP and all the other regulators. But it happened. I mean, the government at that time was very much pro this sort of business, and the type of people that were around were very, very proactive. And it was essential for your growth. Otherwise, it would not have happened, because the acquisition model wouldn't have worked unless you had money to acquire these companies.
Unless you had capital, and nobody would give us capital, to be very honest. We went to a lot of private equity investors, venture capital firms in the US, and basically they were, the Pakistan issue, came up. I mean, in fact, in a meeting, I remember somebody said, excellent model, why don't you guys do it out of India? And it was 4 Pakistanis in a room being told, not that we have a problem, but the fact is we have no competitive strength or anything, but that was the perception. And if the IPO had not happened in Pakistan, I don't think the company would be where it is today.
Okay, and how many people you have in Pakistan now?
In Pakistan, we have over 1,200 people,
in Karachi and Lahore.
In Karachi and Lahore, in different areas of our business. Contact center services is a big part of our business. Technology services, where we are supporting the rest of the organization globally. Finance and accounting, most of our finance back office is done out of Pakistan. So we have a team of highly trained accountants, chartered accountants, and so on. And then back office services, we are doing data entry and data analysis, reporting, etc. out of Pakistan as well. So I think it is.
Okay, now initially you must have had. It must have been a challenge to get the kind of people that you needed for TRG. Has it been, have you had training built in to your hiring mechanism, to your recruitment? The kind of people you attract, how you retain them, what's the philosophy? Because 1,200 people is a large number for any tech company in this country. So give us a feel for that. A
couple of things. I think training, in any services business, in any labor-intensive or people-oriented services business, training and development is essential.
It needs to be continuous.
It has to be continuous. There has to be a consistent focus, and the organization has to be committed to it at the senior levels. So that, having said, over the years we've developed a lot of content. We started started as a contact center, so we had experts come to Pakistan, train us on language, accent, and so on and so forth. As the company grew, there were other challenges in terms of building a middle management structure. And then so we needed soft skills training and management training and organization development training. So we used our own resources. We got help from outside. So we have over the years built a very robust training and development curriculum, as I would call it. In fact, we're probably the only organization, IT or otherwise, where the training and development group or department is a separate group. It doesn't work with HR. Okay. It is a separate group that reports into the country manager. It has its own mandate. It drives its own P&L and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of focus on that particular piece. In terms of
and where do these kids come from?
Variety of backgrounds. Generally, they're all graduates, so they've all done bachelors in science or commerce or BSc or BComs. Okay. They generally have good communication skills, speak well. For the contact center.
Yeah, they'd have to pass your test. I took it once just to see what it was like. It's not easy. It is not easy. But then we have to meet standards of our customers. But then there is the technology services people. Yeah. Again, go to the best technology schools in the country, pick people from there. So I think there is started from recruiting to sort of hiring and through the process through retention. There is a lot of focus on the people development piece. Okay. There is an active marketing that we do to attract people. We go to universities. We've actually there is a budget associated with it. We are actually looking at the numbers of people we talk to and how many we hire. So there are those numbers that we look at very, very carefully, whether that's in any part of our business. Once people come on board, the HR policies are clearly looked at. They're very, very transparent. We practice the open door policy. If you come to my office, you'll see the door is open. Yeah. Even though now we're sort of the number of people has grown, so that there's a lot of everybody is sort of climbing on top of each other. But we have kept that part of our policy, and everybody in the company emanates that. When Zia, is primarily in the US, but when he's in Karachi or Lahore, he's walking around the floor talking to people. Same here. That's important.
It's very, very important. It's very, very important for for the technology business, right. Because it is built on people's ideas, right. And people's contribution, for your employees' contribution. So you have to in our model where where there's a very flat organizational structure. People work directly with their counterparts in the US. People are supporting clients directly. There's no middle management layer as such. Right. So it's very, very important for people to be sort of self-starters, to have a sort of an open culture. In terms of, and for us to make sure that we support them
so that they feel a sense of ownership and belonging to the company.
Absolutely.
Now tell me, there is a concept, especially in contact centers, that you're just a glamorized telephone operator. So career planning and career growth is something that people don't see, but that's not true, is it? It's just a myth.
Yeah, that's not true. In terms of the size of the industry, I say this at every forum that I go to. This industry, the BPO services industry, or your contact center being a major part of it, has the real potential to lift, the economic growth, really push it forward, because it employs large numbers of educated people. Right. It can offer employment opportunities to your youth which are unprecedented, right? And then at the end of the day, whether you're on the phone, it's developing your personal skills, your communication skills, and your sales skills. Life is, somebody used to say, life is one big sale. At every opportunity, we're selling ourselves. Whether it's to our wives, to our spouses, to to our business counterparts. Having the confidence to be able to communicate and to have good interpersonal skills is a fundamental component of one's life.
Of course.
The career opportunities are immense. Internally, for every 10 people on the phone, we need a supervisor. For every 10 supervisors, we need a manager, and we employ hundreds. So there's lots of middle management opportunities. Most of the people that work with TRG have grown internally. They're all smart. They had the basic ingredients, but most of them started in the contact center or as a software developer or somewhere, and they've kind of moved their way up the organization, and we're really proud of that, building people internally. So I think we should not discount to do that. Go and talk to youngsters out of business school or out of school, and they say, I don't want to work in a contact center, or I don't want to do this. I mean, you got to start somewhere, and you have to build the basic skills that you need to succeed in life.
Exactly.
And this opportunity is as good as any opportunity.
And it's now your business is more than just a call center.
Right.
I mean, the BPO part is extremely important.
Right.
And that requires domain skills. It requires a different kind of expertise.
That's right. That's right. And basically, the contact center portion is roughly, I would say, about 40% to 50% of the business now. And the other areas require a lot more technical skills. So the type of people that are needed are different. For software developers, for our technology division, we need seasoned technical people. So we have a technical assessment process.
Right.
And we have, but generally we are big believers in sort of, people with good basic skills. If you don't know a programming language, that's okay, we'll teach you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the basic smarts,
the foundation is extremely important.
Exactly. So if you don't have that, you will not succeed, in TRG or, so I think we focus more on that and less on sort of, whether you know this language or that language. So the testing and hiring process is fairly rigorous, is based on your analytical skills, your reasoning skills, and, some general, knowledge in terms of your technical skills. The same goes for the accounting division. Obviously, that's more sort of focused on the particular skills. So, you need a sort of a cost accountant for some role. You may need a chartered accountant to manage, certain role, and so on and so forth. So that's there. Right. But I think the basics are,
basics are the same.
The basics are the same.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you're also, I believe, hiring MBAs now. What's that all about? That's
an interesting program that we've started, and we have basically hired 15 people currently from the top schools in the country, LUMS and IBA. Mm-hmm. And the plan is to actually start developing a middle management layer for our global organization. So these people are going to start out of our Pakistan offices. They'll be training here, and then they'll be sent to the various locations that we have globally. US, Canada, Europe. They'll train there with their, US counterparts, and they'll bring that skills back to Pakistan, or they may be placed in one of the, one of these other locations. I think the idea is really, the talent has actually gotten better and better. The quality of human capital, I feel, in the last 10 years is actually getting better.
I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, okay,
we're always complaining, it seems.
We are, and maybe there's a long way to go. I agree. But I think there is certain improvement in that, and the technology industry in general, whether it's technology services or related industries, there has been an awareness, and thanks to a lot of the work that Pasha has done, and a lot of work that you have done, I think it has propelled an awareness in terms of what the industry is, and the industry does command certain degree of respect now. So I think that is also part of the.
That's what's attracting more and more talented young people to join us.
Yes.
So this global program, I'm glad that you're, it'll groom people and give them a different level of expertise.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now, another program of yours that TRG started that excited me a lot was your work from home program. Mm-hmm. Would you tell us a little about that? Whether it worked, which part of it worked, which didn't, and why?
Yes, we are. TRG is about interesting ideas and about trying new things, and the work from home program was another sort of a program we decided, because at the end of the day, in the contact center industry in particular, women generally are known to provide better customer service. They have a better sort of accent, in terms of their ability to talk. And they have
better listening skills.
Better listening skills, exactly. And the biggest problem in Pakistan is that due to cultural reasons and other reasons, women are they don't prefer to work out of the house late at night. So I think the idea was to sort of focus on that and sort of provide people with sort of internet connections and a laptop at their homes with a little backup battery, and and that would allow us to port calls off to people's homes.
Right.
And we had some limited success, I must admit. But I think the infrastructure, this is a few years back. Maybe if we do now, it would actually.
Yeah, that was when we had one fiber optic.
WiMAX had just started, and it was not very good. Wateen's initial, so I think
with that. Yeah.
Exactly.
But so now things are better. There's better connectivity. You can try it again.
We can try it again. However, on the software side, it is working. We have most of our developers, because we have a 24/7 work cycle, right? We have to support. A lot of our work is actually supporting our staff and production real time in our different offices around the world.
Right.
So the work cycle is literally 24/7, which means that you need to have your developers and programmers available on a 24/7 cycle, and you cannot push a human being to sort of work out of the office. So I think we have sort of developed a schedule where people work from home. They have internet connections, they have backup connections. Given the situation in the last couple of years, we have built a very robust and rigorous business continuity and disaster recovery plans. Terrific. Where people need to have laptop accesses, and they can work from home. And in the last few years, when we have had instances of downtime, etc., we have never been down.
Right.
And that's because people are able to access from homes. There are different internet connections that people have. They have laptops with batteries, and
And you've actually, I believe, assessed it to see, if it works, doesn't work, how much time they'll have.
Absolutely, we've had the experience real time in figuring out what works and what doesn't. So I think work from home is an important part of our planning, and it's an essential need for us in terms of redundancy and support. We just cannot have our business fail at any given point in time.
Definitely, for the BPO sector, that's impossible. So you have this program running in both Karachi and Lahore, or any other cities? In both Karachi and Lahore.
We have sort of kept our reach within Karachi and Lahore, though we hire across the country. We hire in Lahore, for example, people from Faisalabad, from Bahawalpur, from Islamabad, and up north sort of work there. From Karachi, we have Hyderabad and some of the other adjoining cities. And we've sort of kept our kind of heels in those two locations, because at some point the management gets a little difficult, right? You need to kind of manage.
Don't diversify more than it can work.
And I think both cities are excellent pools of people, so I think we've had no problems so far. So
terrific. Now, TRG initially focused on bringing back export work to Pakistan, but now you're also working in the domestic space. So tell us a bit about that.
The domestic sort of work started by accident, and the reason was that we had we have a lot of capacity that is free in the Pakistani daytime hours, which is US night. And we, as we have a large capacity. We have over 800 seats, or as the industry uses, one of the terms is the industry uses. So that's a large capacity to be idle. And hence the idea was to sort of start utilizing that for the domestic market, and bring that expertise onto the table as well, and share it with with sort of the large sort of telcos and banking sector companies in Pakistan. And that's how we started sort of working on that, and mashallah, that business has grown tremendously. We've had a lot of successes. We have several multinational banks that we work with. We have a large telecom customer that we work with as well. So I think all in all, the business has had a lot of success. But just to stress again, if you look at the revenue pool, 80% of our revenue is still export oriented.
Of course.
Because ultimately that's the business. But I think this is a very good business to have, and we certainly want to retain it and grow it as the years go by.
And it helps the local organizations to streamline their operations.
Absolutely. I mean, we brought a lot of best practices to bear from our from our international locations. We've worked with clients a lot, and I think clients appreciate the feedback and the effort that we have provided. And we work with all the sort of the large multinational sort of customers in Pakistan.
But what kind of things can be outsourced for those people who really don't understand? I mean, out of financial organizations and out of telcos, what are the key areas that you feel can be outsourced without any problems to those organizations?
The biggest opportunity for telcos and banks is basically the back office customer service component, which is the contact center services component. That certainly can be outsourced without any problems. I mean, the problems that we have are just mental roadblocks. So, I lose control. The same problems that were in the West 20 years ago, and they've overcome that, and they've sort of gone through that bridge. And you talk to the multinational companies operating, they have no problems because they've already sort of, globally they're bought into that outsourcing model, how it works, how it can make their businesses more efficient, and so on and so forth. Apart from that, you have other opportunities. There's an entire back office, side to the business. For banking, there's reconciliations. There's an entire back office that does all the transactions, which is non-voice sort of based work. That entire work, can be outsourced. IT services is already, I think most companies are already talking help desk, those things already being outsourced, but not to the extent that they should be.
What about the credit card services? That's it.
Exactly.
That's something that should be outsourced.
Exactly. That should be part of the back office services as well. And I think there has been some progress, but I think it's a chicken and an egg situation, right? I mean, the client will say, well, I don't have an outsourced sort of repute that I can go to.
Right.
So I think that is the problem, and then we come to the table. So we're trying to change that paradigm. We're trying
to build some confidence within the customer base.
Exactly. So I think, and it will happen over a period of time. I think, India already has a very large domestic outsourcing services industry, as we learned at the seminar.
Right.
And there is, we can easily kind of work on that. So,
is there anything you think in terms of government support that we need that we have not received, or incentives, or even in the area of legislation that is required by the BPO industry in particular, and the IT industry in general?
I think, as far as support is concerned, I think the biggest area is of infrastructure development. I think what we need is large amounts of office space in relatively reasonable prices.
IT parks.
IT parks, exactly. Sort of, and that is something that we can work on. And I think you have raised that, and a lot of people have raised that at different forums. And apart from that, from a legislation perspective, I know there is, several initiatives to tighten up the piracy laws, etc. Though that, doesn't have a direct impact on our business, but indirectly, we have to have those sort of areas in place in order to, for client comfort to increase.
But what about data protection?
Data protection again, yes, because data. However, in our business, you can have a solution where the data doesn't actually reside with you. It just you just access it, for a few seconds, and then you process it and then goes back.
But it would help for the country image to have a data protection.
Exactly, absolutely, it would help if you have those laws in place. Right. And as a representative from the industry, I think we would support that wholeheartedly. Apart from that, I think there is, I'm a big believer in free enterprise. So I think that is the way to go. But
government I think should stay out of business.
Government should stay out of business as much as possible. But there are, certainly areas where they can help, especially at this stage where the industry is still in its infancy. To get us out of that infant stage and get us to a level, I think you need, a champion at the government level, similar to you've had it in many cases. I'll give you the example of the Philippines, where we started about 3 years ago. They have a very large industry, it's almost compared to India. About 500,000 people work in the BPO services industry, particularly in call centers. We went there for a few, to do our due diligence, and the amount of support we got, literally we had the Minister for Investment visit us at our offices.
Amazing.
I mean, that is the level of support they provided us with folks that took us out, that showed us the various sites. So that is the amount of championship that you need.
And what kind of incentives do they provide in the Philippines, for instance?
I mean, the incentives are, the infrastructure obviously is excellent. There is a tax holiday, I believe, which now they're rolling back. They don't need to have that. There is incentives in terms of tax holidays for the employees that work in the industry and so on.
Oh wow, that's something we've been pushing too, but hasn't happened yet.
So there are, but I think more than the incentives, you need to market the industry, and you need to support the industry in that aspect, which they have very successful. It kind of goes to show the seriousness of how serious you are in supporting something, right? And I think that goes a long way in building people's confidence levels.
There is also a case for, a lot of people have been talking about the fact that we need to build the industry together, and the need for building consortiums so that the smaller and medium-sized companies can bid for projects together with the larger companies who have much better processes, more professionalism. What's your take on that? Do you think that will help grow the industry? Do you think larger companies like yours would like to partner with smaller companies so that that expertise, that transfer of knowledge takes place?
I mean, certainly at any at any given aspect, if there's something that we can do to help out and to sort of bring people along, would be good. Now, at the end of the day, in our industry, more than sort of technology or software, size is important, right? You're able to build, as you grow in size, it's important to have that scale in order to service customers. But there is no. I absolutely agree. Working together, collaborating with with sort of smaller players and bringing everybody together, sharing best practices, and then as a group, sort of
bidding for larger contracts.
Bidding for larger contracts.
As you said, scale is important.
Exactly.
If you have 1,200 people and within 10 company base, you can add on another 1,200 people to bid for a larger contract. That would help.
Absolutely. No, I think it's very important to collaborate and work. I mean, there's nothing to hide. At the end of the day,
of course.
You need to.
I mean, it's all out there now with the internet. Just Google for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Nadeem. This was a great discussion, and we wish you luck, and especially with your MBA program. I think that's quite exciting.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
That was Nadeem Elahi, Managing Director and Country Head of TRG, and we learned a lot about especially the HR initiatives and the training and development that is taking place at TRG, and how young people who are employed there are actually benefiting from the infrastructure and the professionalism that they bring to Pakistan. Till next time, this is Jahara signing off from In the Line of Wire.